Chinmaya jalase paramakaran jara ekakana ganga patita pavan. The water of the Karna ocean, which is the original cause, is therefore spiritual. The sacred Ganges, which is but a drop of it, purifies the fallen souls. Seta karananave se sankarshan apanara eka angshe karene shayan. In that ocean lies a plenary portion of Lord Sankarshan. Mahashrashta Purushatinho Jagat Karan Adhyavatar Kare Mayaya Ikshan. He is known as the first Purusha, the creator of the total material energy. He, the cause of the universes, the first incarnation, cast his glance over Maya. Maya Shakti Rahe Karana Badira Bahire Karana Samudra Maya Parashite Nare. Maya Shakti resides outside the Karna ocean. Maya cannot touch its waters. And then text 58. Seta Mayara Dui Vida Avastiti. I don't know if you have it on your phone. Maybe one or two have it. Never mind. Jagatara Upadana Pradhana Prakriti. We can say the word for word. Is someone getting a Russian translation? Is it required? Ukrainian translation? You sure? Can you understand or not? I don't understand. It's all beyond me. I'm still in the material. Can't understand a thing. Anyway, let's see what the purport says. Seta Mayara Dui Vida Avastiti Jagatara Upadana Pradhana Prakriti. Please repeat. Say. That. Ta. Certainly. Mayara. Of the material energy. Dui Vida. Two varieties. Avastiti. Existence. Jagatara. Of the material world. Upadhana. The ingredients. Pradhana. Name Pradhana. Prakriti. Material nature. Jai Vadavam. Parashishwara ki jai. Jai Sachi Sutta ki jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki jai. They're very bright today. They must be happy seeing all the Sankirtan devotees here. We're sad you're all leaving. What to do? I wish I'd known. Maya has two varieties of existence. One is called Pradhana or Prakriti. It supplies the ingredients of the material world. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Maya, the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is divided into two parts. Maya is both the cause of the cosmic manifestation and the agent who supplies its ingredients. As the cause of the cosmic manifestation, she is known as Maya, and as the agent supplying the ingredients of the cosmic manifestation, she is known as Pradhana. Is there some kind of cushion I can put here? Because I've got to rest my back on something here. Thanks. Should be okay. Well, that's falling down. It's not going to stick, is it? It will not stick. Yeah, that one's better. Thank you. An explicit description of these divisions of the external energy is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, chapter 24, text 1 to 4. Maybe we have that book here, 11th canto, chapter 24. Do we have it in the library? Is it available? Why no availability? We have it, but it's not available. What does that mean? No key. Where's the key?
But it's not working. I mean, I can go and try it. Really necessary.
We have books, but we can't access them.
Would you like the books?
Pardon? Yeah, we will, but later after the purport then. Good, thank you for having it on your mobile phone. Elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10:63-26, the ingredients and the cause of the material cosmic manifestation are described as follows. What is chapter 24 chapter 63 of the 10th canto? Does anyone know? Who is that, or what chapter is that? Someone other than Tulsi can look it up, otherwise you may have to refer. Pardon?
Lord Krishna fights with Banasura.
Lord Krishna?
Fights with Banasura.
Fights with Banasura, huh? Amazing. So who is this statement by? Kalo daivam karma jiva svabhaho dravyam kshetram pranatma vikaraha tat sangato bijaroho pavas tvanmae shatan nishedam prapadye. O my Lord, time, activity, providence, and nature are four parts of the causal aspect, Maya, of the external energy. The conditioned vital force, the subtle material ingredients called the dravya, and material nature, which is the field of activity where the false ego acts as a soul, as well as the 11 senses and 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, which are the 16 ingredients of the body. These are the ingredient aspects of Maya. The body is generated from activity, and activity is generated from the body. Just as a tree is generated from a seed, that is generated from a tree. This reciprocal cause and effect is called Maya. My dear Lord, you can save me from this cycle of cause and effect. I worship your lotus feet. I'm not sure who's speaking there. Maybe someone can check if you wish. Although the living entity is primarily related to the causal portion of Maya, he is nevertheless conducted by the ingredients of Maya. These forces work in the causal portion of Maya. Three forces work in the causal portion of Maya: knowledge, desire, and activity. The material ingredients are a manifestation of Maya as pradhana. In other words, when the three qualities of Maya are in a dormant stage, they exist as Prakriti, Avyakta, or Pradhana. The word Avyakta, referring to the non-manifested, is another name of Pradhana. In the Avyakta stage, material nature is without varieties. Varieties are manifested by the pradhana portion of Maya. The word pradhana is therefore more important than avyakta or prakriti. So I think all this is obviously self-explanatory. I'm sure everyone's absorbed it, and I should have got up a bit earlier. But a very incredibly, you could say, some would say rather technical, wordy description of the material energy and its reasons for existence, how it interacts, the forces behind it, its various variable factors, how Maya works, how we're under the influence of Maya. Basically speaking, the living entity is, due to this false ego, false identity, considers himself or themselves to be whatever condition we're in. But the prayer we see here, whoever it is, you can save me from this cycle of cause and effect. It's the scientific law, practically speaking. The law of cause and effect is something which is more or less, is not understood, of course, in its original or its efficient or causal state. But from the point of view of, let's say, perception of a conditioned soul, even scientifically speaking, there is some understanding that every cause has an effect, and every effect, it goes on like this. There's a cause and there's effect. The effect is a cause of a future effect. And this way the cycle of material life goes on, which is explained here. The details of how it goes on, why it goes on, is a mystery for conditioned souls. Here is a brief, and then let's say summary. It's further expanded. We can read in the 11th canto. Do you have that available? Robert says it explained further in the 11th canto. Let's see what it says. Is it possible to put it the other way around like this? Yes, it is. Magic. Just by will alone, it's suddenly turned around. Just see. Lord Sri Krishna said, this is 11th canto, chapter 24. Lord Sri Krishna said, now I should describe to you the science of Sankhya, which has been perfectly established by ancient authorities. By understanding this science, a person can immediately give up the material duality. I'm not going to read the purport unless it's short, because some of the purports are very, very long and not necessarily directly. How do I go to verse 2?
The next one is it?
Well, it's 1 to 4. Is that 2? Oh, you flick it that way. Okay. Originally during the Krita Yuga, Satya Yuga, when all men were very expert in spiritual discrimination, and also previous to that, during the period of annihilation, the seer existed alone, non-different from the seen object. I thought this was going to make life easier, but I will read the purport. Krita Yuga is the first age, also known as Satya Yuga, in which knowledge, being perfect, is not different from its object. Okay. In modern society, knowledge is highly speculative and constantly changing. There is often a vast difference between people's theoretical ideas and actual reality. I think we can relate to that at least. In Satya Yuga, however, people are viveka nipunaha, which means expert in intelligent discrimination, and thus there is no difference between their vision and reality. I'm sure you're awake. Just stretching your muscles there. In Satya Yuga, the population in general is self-realized, seeing everything as the potency of the Supreme Lord. They do not artificially create duality between themselves and other living entities. This is a further aspect of the oneness of Satya Yuga. At the time of annihilation, everything merges to rest within the Lord, and at that time also there is no difference between the Lord, who becomes the only seer, and the objects of knowledge which are contained within the Lord. The liberated living entities in the eternal spiritual world are never subject to such merging, but remain forever undisturbed in their spiritual forms, because they are voluntarily one with the Lord in love. Their abode is never annihilated. That was text 2, and then text 3. That one absolute truth, remaining free from material dualities and inaccessible to ordinary speech and mind, divided himself into two categories. The material nature and the living entities who are trying to enjoy the manifestations of that nature. Interesting. Mostly they receive very long purports in the 11th canto, but here the purports are quite short. Very one-line purport. Both material nature and the living entity are potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Finished. And text 4. Tayore Kataro Yata, we'll leave that Sanskrit. Of these two categories of manifestation, one is material nature, which embodies both the subtle causes and manifest products of matter. The other is the conscious living entity designated as the enjoyer. And another very long purport, I'll read it. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, Prakriti here refers to the subtle pradhana, which later becomes manifest as Mahat Tattva. When material nature was agitated by my glance, the three material modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, became manifest to fulfill the pending desires of the conditioned souls. Thank you. Thank you for this very nice section of Chaitanya Charitamrita. What to say? Hare Krishna. Something is there. Well, we can understand just how incredible Krishna is and how everything is really so mystical in one sense, beyond their purview, as was mentioned there with their material senses. That's obvious. Atakshri Krishna Namadina Bhavat Grayam Indrai, with their material senses, even this is inconceivable. Huh? Just a description of the phenomena. This is just a little summary. There's a lot of information. Each one of these points could be separately, it is separately analyzed. In Sankhya Yoga, you go through one by one. Is it not? So on and so forth. Trying to understand the various elements, how one causes the other. What Prakriti and Avyakta and Pradhana, and the subtle differences therein, and where, at what point does consciousness evolve? The three modes of nature suddenly come into action in the dormant material energy, you could say, or the latent energies, and how Maya, the external energy of the Lord, his servant, Maya Jakshena Prakriti Sute Sacharacham, how all this is ultimately, although here we see a somewhat detailed description to some degree of the situation within the material cosmos, outside of the Vaikunthas or within the material energy. We see some description here, but ultimately everything is going on under the will of the Lord. Maya Jakshena Prakriti. He's controlling everything. It's not independent as some people think. Although here Maya is taking a very, we could say, seemingly a very significant role. Maybe some people will see that's the beginning and end of it all. Material nature is for eternity. It's eternal. It never has a beginning and end. It always exists. There's nothing beyond it. It's just the way it is. And people see it like that. But here we see, even beyond that, even material nature, even if one takes that as a philosophy, still what activates it is mentioned here, the glance of the Lord. Otherwise there's no movement there. There's no, interaction. There's no seer or seen. There's object. There has to be. The seer is a conscious living entity. That which is seen, in this case, is the material phenomena. But we're not aware of that. We're just under the influence of the material energy, the false ego, identifying with the false ego and seeing ourselves as nothing but a material product or a subtle material product in this material world, not knowing our real cause or our real origins beyond this material manifestation. that part, when it says the material energy is living entity, also referring to the various forms which develop due to the living entity's false ego and their consequent activities within the realm of the material energy. One receives different bodies, which we consider ourselves, gross and subtle. But beyond that is the real identity of the living entity, which is a mystery. Consciousness, the source of consciousness, is very mysterious to most people. It's probably mysterious to us in one sense, although we may have some realizations that, logically speaking, we're beyond and above that which is seen. Generally, we can understand that at least a little theoretically. There's a difference between the seer and the seen. But within this material world, because we identify with this material ingredient, this cause of the aspect of Maya, where we're under her influence, we're forgetting our identity, etc., then even that becomes, a material analysis. To see beyond the realm of the phenomenal world for most people is just not within their grasp. This is something which is revealed by the Lord. It's a revelation, we could say. We can analyze it, although it's said here that through Sankhya philosophy one maybe understand one's separate identity apart from this material energy or apart from Maya. But it's a very difficult process. Very difficult. Analysis, trying to understand all the ingredients within the material realm and the causes going way back to the very origins of the material energy and so on and so forth. It's a very, very difficult path. Of course, we find this description to a certain extent in the second canto, third canto of Bhagavatam as you could say, a necessity to go through, just like we're going through now the Srimad Chaitanya Charitamrita. Many devotees, what to speak of the public, find that this is somewhat difficult reading, somewhat difficult to understand. It's almost like a test for some devotees. See it as a test. You have to go through this before you get to the real substance, or the nectar, of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The first few chapters, but it's essential that we just hear attentively and try. It has an amazing effect on our consciousness, even if fools like me are not able to analyze it. Maybe if I really put my attention and study to it, we could get a little bit of, clarification. I'm not the right person for that, but at least at this stage, although we've read it several times, it's to a certain extent we may grasp everything, under the Maya in this material. The Maya is under Krishna's direction, and we can repeat what we've heard here, there, and everywhere. Very interesting and maybe convincing, and so on and so forth. But ultimately, unless one understands the most significant factor of all, which we see described in the earliest stages of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the purpose behind it all, and the means of understanding that purpose, the importance of the various tattvas. This is certainly a tattva, what can I say, unqualified to go into a deep analysis. Certain devotees, especially even Prabhupada said, I leave some of these scientific descriptions to my scientific devotees to go deeper into. And sometimes we find, just like here, no purports, practically speaking, for most of these verses. And for many devotees, it's something which we read, and some have an intensive interest in going deeper and deeper into the details here. We accept, yes, everything's coming from Krishna. Everything's under Krishna's direction. The Maya is very powerful. We hear in Satyuga, Kriti Yuga, that all living entities were practically self-realized. Practically self-realized. And they could see everything in its oneness as well. In other words, they could see everything in relationship to the Absolute. Of course, they may be Mayavadis also. But in terms of at least from the point of view of devotional service, seeing everything in relationship with Krishna. Even if we don't fully understand it in all of its various ingredient causes and efficient causes of the material energy, how the, Maya is the cause of all the ingredients, and as well as the various forms that are constructed from those ingredients, and how the living entity is then, according to various, how it interacts with those ingredients when they're in a format stage, so to speak. How the interaction between the living entity and those ingredients causes his future bodies within this material world. All this is going on magic from the point of view of a conditioned soul. And Maya is just acting in this way, and we're just like on the stage, like a director of a great drama. If you've ever been in a drama, there was one song, I don't know who it was by, one Karmi music group was actually into this. I think maybe, I don't know, Quintessence or something. That Maya is the director, and we're all on the stage of, it's like the material life is like a drama, and Maya is the director. We're all playing various false parts in this drama. They could pick it up from somewhere. Yes, Maya is like the director of the drama in one sense, but not whimsically, according to the living entity's desire, as mentioned here. The material, Prabhupada describes in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the material world exists simply because of the desire of the living entity. Simply by desire. Everything is based on desire, ultimately. Spiritual, material, all based on desire. Krishna is reciprocating with the living entity's desire since time immemorial. And in this material world, our desires because we have the false identity with the body as the self, the false ego. Therefore our desires are all related to an illusion or to this temporary manifestation of the Lord's energies in the material world. We want higher position, we want to go to heaven, we want to avoid suffering, we want to increase our sense gratification, etc., etc. And according to our karma, Maya, under the direction of the Lord, arranges various situations for us. And we sometimes don't know. We don't know why. Why is one person born in the body of a dog? Somebody is born in a family of, whatever, religious, so-called religious people. Somebody is born in a family of poverty-stricken atheists, or whatever it may be. Whatever. Why? There's a cause. We can't say, oh, it's just Maya, she is responsible for this. Start blaming Maya, or God beyond Maya if we were theistic. But no, it's our own desire, our own result of our own, you could say. We are responsible for a situation. This helps us to realize this. Helps us to realize just how much we are in ignorance, how much we're under the influence of the material energy, awakens a desire, maybe a desire to try to understand this. Maybe we have this Sankhya inclination also, try to analyze these things. Some do. It's a very interesting subject, especially for those who do. But ultimately, what is the use unless one gets out of it? That's the whole principle, is to get out of the material conditioning, to become free of the influences of Maya, the illusion. And not just to get free, but to understand what is our real position. It's like a man in a prison may have a desire to get free of the prison. But that's not the end of it, unless the tendencies are changed, unless that false ego is changed, false identity, unless we understand our true identity, and understand the relationship of all the energies with the Supreme, or with the origin of all, the sarva karana karanam, cause of all causes. That's one understands at least that much. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, one who understands me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubt is understood as the knower of everything. So it's not necessarily one knows every fine detail. Some may know more of this and some may know more of that. Okay. But the main thing is to understand how everything is related to Krishna and how everything can be engaged in Krishna's service. Obviously, if one's preaching in scientific circles, if one's preaching in circles of persons who are very, let's say, very aware of the different ingredients and the material energy they're studied very carefully Sankhya Yoga, then one would have to have, if one the Vaishnava or the Shastric understanding of these subject matters in order to bring them to Krishna consciousness. But the whole goal is to come to Krishna consciousness. The whole goal is to see everything in relation. That's the oneness, as Prabhupada says here. I don't know if it's Prabhupada or if it was in the 11th canto, but the oneness of love. The oneness of love. The whole idea is to bring us bahunam jamanamante jnanabam padite. After many, many births, such persons who may be very maturely developed in some ways, but it takes many, many births before ultimately one realizes the essential feature. How is everything related to Krishna? That is beyond the material perception of the living entity. It is beyond. They cannot realize. It's like Srila Prabhupada writes in his Bhagavat, Makine Bhagavat Dharma, by your will, all living entities have come under the influence of the material energy. By your will, they can all be released from the material energy. That doesn't exclude the living entity's responsibility. It sounds like it. It sounds like the living entity is just unfortunate. You happen to be in the wrong place when Krishna threw a bunch of living entities in under the influence of Maya or something. It doesn't work like that. It's according to our will. But without the will of the Lord, not a blade of grass moves. Everything happens by His will. So the living entities are placed in this material energy, under the influence of the material energy by will. By the living entities, according to Srila Prabhupada, because of the living entity's desire, the material energy exists. So we're placed here by will. But without Krishna's will, there is no material energy, and neither we're placed here. He places us here. It's His will. It's not, in one sense, it's not His will, you could say, but it is also His will, because He's reciprocating with the living entities accordingly. And similarly, the living entities are delivered by His will. In other words, by His arrangement, by His action, by Him, not by us. We have desire. That's what the living entity is generally understood, although he's one of the 5 doers, but ultimately he's not understood as a doer. All the activities around us are carried out by the 3 modes of mature nature. The living entity is simply a witness according to the level of his consciousness of the material energy around and absorbed in that material energy due to false ego. Completely absorbed. Totally absorbed. So the process of devotional service is a little bit easier. It's a process of utilizing whatever we're absorbed in, whatever we identify with, of utilizing that in a way which will release us from, the influences of Maya, from the false ego, and so on and so forth. To release us from this false understanding, this false attachment, false perception. Attachment is natural, perception is the nature of the soul. So it's just a matter of what we are focused on, and our knowledge or understanding of our relationship with that which we are focused on. The devotional service clears that up. It achieves the purpose of both release from the material energy and realization of our actual identity, which Sankhya Yoga only may come to a certain point of realizing oneself apart from this material energy, but not necessarily understanding one's actual constitution. This is why Bhakti Yoga is considered the highest of all yogas, because it is a path which can reveal, by the grace of Krishna also, can reveal everything, no matter what it is. One may not need to know them. Even sometimes we hear devotees, illiterate practically speaking, but Krishna reveals everything to them as and when the need is there. Whatever is necessary, whatever is relevant. What need is of all this detailed information Krishna explains about his, various energies and how they interact. With a single spark of my splendor, I support and pervade this entire material creation. It comes from a spark of his splendor. And ultimately that's the goal of it all. This chapter is the glories of Lord Nityananda Ram, and this most glorious character that is described here. Also how from Lord Nityananda everything expands, from Lord Balaram everything expands, the various chapter view of everything, all the various fourfold forms of the Lord, and from Sankarshan how the various Purusha avatars expand. Everything is coming. He's like the expansive form of the Lord, even the support, the material, spiritual and material, you could say in one sense. They're all, Lord Balaram is making all these arrangements, and even the Purusha avatars are coming from him. So that Lord Balaram is Nityananda. So everything comes from Nityananda, and release from this material energy comes from him. Everything is by his grace. We're in this world, or under this influence, or that whatever influence it is, by his grace, and we can get out of it by his grace. And so Prabhupada writes, it's my will that you kindly release them. And what is the process of release? At least the process of becoming freed from the material influence given by Srila Prabhupada. He said, the understanding of Srimad Bhagavatam. So I can understand, I'm still a long way to go, you could say. I don't fully understand all these things by any means. But we do try, at least we try to apply the principle of realization, the principle of devotional service, which is the essence of the Bhagavatam, engaging ourselves in the service of the pure devotees of the Lord. This is what frees us, Nastapreshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, can free the living entities from the influence of the three modes of nature and come to the level of pure goodness, where by the grace of Krishna, where one's vision becomes purified. One sees things for what they are, and not through the coverings of the material energy. One is no longer attracted to the glittering show of Maya, whatever form it takes. Even if we're in an ant's body, we're still captivated by Maya's show. To become free of that show, very strong. Daivi Heshu Gunamai Mama Maya Daracha. This material energy is very powerful, very difficult to overcome. But those who surrender unto me can easily cross beyond it. The surrendering process is, generally speaking, surrender is not a word that most people are very happy with, unless it's surrender unto me, do what I say. They may like that, but most individuals don't like the idea of having to surrender. Unavoidable. We've all surrendered to Maya. Every living entity is surrendered. I had to get out that. Krishna says, you surrender to me and I'll release you. Release us from this covering of the material energy. What is that surrender? Well, different times, Krita Yuga, the process may have been different, no doubt. Following the Vedic directives, the directions of sadhus, saintly persons give those directions. Kali Yuga, the direction is quite simple because people don't have much brain substance. Manda samanda mateo magam manda bagu badrutaha. This age of Kali, people are a bit stupid. They're all very covered, in this Kali Yuga. Don't have much time or energy or ability. Intelligence is very covered. They're lazy, quarrelsome, misguided, and always disturbed, short-lived. Very disturbing age. Therefore, Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam Sango Pangasta Parshtam Yagya Sankitanam Prayer Yajantihi Sumedashan. In this age of Kali, intelligent persons worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the performance of Sankirtan Yoga. Quite simple. The Lord has made it very simple. Shortcut method, maybe. But He's made the process very simple. Of course, that doesn't mean that we remain just, fools. Study of the Shastra is essential, but the chanting of the holy name is the essential process given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, the time is ticking and you have to get out on Sankirtan. Breakfast is ready or not? Is breakfast ready? Is it ready? 9 o'clock. Yeah, it should be ready. It should be. Whether it is or not is another thing, but it should be. Anything? Let's say to clarify, add, or correct, or anything. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you for the class.
Thank you. It's over at last.
About getting out of this material energy, and I have a question. If a person don't have even genuine interest in Krishna like a person and his associate, so can he go back to Godhead or not? Because often we hear that in one lifetime coming back to Godhead.
A person who's not interested, did you say?
Even in for example, in Krishna's associates.
Krishna's associate?
He wants to go back to Godhead, but he does not have real interest in his associates even. So, does he have any chance to go back to Godhead?
He doesn't have interest in, sorry,
In Krishna's associates.
Krishna's associates. He doesn't have any interest in association of Krishna with
in associates.
With Krishna's associates.
Yeah.
Can he go back to Godhead?
Yeah.
What will he do there?
So I'm asking this because often we hear in the lectures that
Yeah.
in one lifetime go back to God, but okay.
If we don't have any interest in Krishna's associates, can we go back to Godhead? What do you think?
I think no.
No. You think no?
I think no.
I agree with you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I can say something.
Huh?
Once,
Not too long, please.
no.
Keep it short.
This devotee was giving class about go back to God, this and that. I remember Bhakti Maharaj used to say, if we look deep within our heart, we can understand that we don't want to go back to God actually.
Well, that may be another point. Do we really want to go back to Godhead, or is it just some, sentiment which isn't really based on reality?
Wait a minute, brother. It's not finished. And then I was thinking, so what's the chance to be desired to go back to Godhead? And then this Gandharvika, daughter of Godamandala, I think she said an interesting thing. She says, by associating with people who want to go back to God.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, that's what our whole line, isn't it? What do we, in this conditioned state, what do we do know, or what are we? We associate with those who have it. That's what this whole principle is, isn't it? Aren't you attached? Aren't you attached to Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas? If we're not, we're not very advanced, we're not very developed. We understand at least some degree of that attachment. We're attracted. Are you not? What are you doing here if you're not attracted to Prabhupada? What are we doing? Is Prabhupada not an eternal associate of Krishna, a confidential associate of Krishna? Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Narottam Das, and the list is unending. Isn't it? Don't you have an attraction for them? I think every devotee has an attraction to some degree, isn't it? Maybe Raghunath Das, maybe Hari Das. They come here although we have no idea what the associates of Krishna are or what they're up to. We may be simply envious if we ever hear it. But in the association of those who are eternal associates who come into this world, then we have, the attraction develops. We may not know all the details, and in fact, you may not be attracted to certain aspects of the spiritual realm of certain devotees, hopefully not attracted to Mayavad at least. We may not be attracted to the form we're not on a level to analyze that now, but even in this world, certain devotees will attract us more than others. Don't you get that? Don't you find that when you read, say, for instance, Chaitanya Charitamrita? Certain personalities inspire you? Don't you get that? And it changes over a period of time. You never noticed? You must have noticed. You're an intelligent man. You must have noticed. If you look back, of course, I don't know how many years you've been practicing, but in this life, but you look back, 50 years ago, but Chaitanya Charitamrita, where did we get? I can't remember, 1974 or something it came, so almost 50 years ago. We had what we had, we read what we read, and certain persons stood out. I was really attracted to Raghunath Das Goswami. And then later on, I thought, oh God, who am I? Then Haridas Thakur became, I was really focused on, hearing and chanting and finding out a whole analysis on it. I got hundreds and thousands of pages about Haridas Thakur. It really captivated my attention. And later on, maybe other personalities, for various reasons, the mood of King Prataparudra became it's all given by Prabhupada. It's all through Srila Prabhupada's mercy. His mood, became very attractive. Not that, he's, whatever level he's on. But his mood of how to actually get the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very significant. And then, different stages, you're coming attracted to the Lord's eternal associates who appear in different forms and different ways necessary to help us to move forward in spiritual lives. They're here now. They're not dead and gone. They're here now. Prabhupada is asking them, please. He's brought them to us. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Like that. We associate with persons who, on our level, we associate with persons who are serious about Krishna consciousness, as Vajradharma just said, quoting Gandharvika. Persons who want to. Well, maybe that, again, can be seen relatively, as someone else said, Vajradharma said the same thing. Do we really want to go back to Godhead? That's the question. Or are we still thinking about enjoying the material ingredients? Or are we still on the subtle platform? Well, look at me. I'm more knowledgeable. I'm more this. I'm more renounced. I'm more so-and-so. And we're still subtly in Maya. So it depends. But it's a step-by-step process. And because of the grace of pure devotees, hopefully we gradually get free of all of this, obstacles. Yes, go on, Raj.
And how can we capture the attention and receive the service of the associates?
How can we capture the attention and receive the service of such eternal associates of the Lord? How we can enter into serving them or in the mood of their devotion to the Lord? How can we do that? Well, this is the Sankirtan movement. At least at our stage, Srila Prabhupada is our link, we can say for sure. And now whoever's following him helps us to solidify or understand that link or enter into that link. That will come clearer and clearer as we progress in spiritual life as to the particular details involved in there. But the general principle is Sushrushrosa Dadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi, that we serve those devotees who are freed from all vice by such service, great service is done. And what's the result of that? We develop an attraction for hearing the messages of Godhead. And as we serve, that attraction will naturally develop, and it will evolve and grow and grow and grow. We put into practice their general directions, and maybe specific directions will also become, in the beginning, it may be basically this, that, and the other. We can all probably remember when we first came, wash the pots, clean the toilets, clean the car, drive the car, boil the milk, wash the floor, go on Sankirtan, and then you get Brahmin, go on the altar, clean the altar, cook for the deities, then you go give a lecture, do this, do that, do this, do that as we go through our lives. And that's all indeed within the ninefold process of devotional service, but it may not be clear yet at that stage exactly, what is our constitution, you could say, constitutional service. So at this stage, it will be according sometimes time, place, and circumstance, sometimes according to our condition, nature, sometimes it may be according to the, Krishna's got his other plans, he's putting in situations to release us from certain obstacles, etc., etc. But it's all based upon following the guideline, the direction of the pure devotees of the Lord. And Krishna is in the heart, he's Chaitanya Guru, he's guiding us into different situations appropriate to release us from whatever is blocking us on our paths of spiritual life. So how do we enter into that association, that mood? That naturally comes as simultaneously as well, if that's our will, desire. It comes as we become freed of anarthas by the process of devotional service. The heart becomes cleansed. We start to see things a little bit more clearly, less coated or tinged by the modes of nature, our various conditional perspectives. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, we simply have to expose ourselves, it means our consciousness. We have to be conscious to expose ourselves to the transcendental sound vibration of the holy name, to hear the holy name as given, the process of hearing as given by our acharyas, by Srila Prabhupada directly, how to chant the holy name. When we're babies, then, baby instruction, just chant somehow or another get them to chant. But that's not the end of it, that's the first step. Somehow or another chant. Somehow or another finish your 16 rounds. It's a great start. Attentive, inattentive, whatever it may be, with conscious awareness or no conscious awareness, whatever it may be. But do it. Surrender. Slowly, step by, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. So Krishna will give step by step. Faith in the holy name. Yasyadeva Parabhakti Yatadevi Tathaguru. The faith in the instruction of the spiritual master and Krishna, everything is revealed. It's hard to say at this point, but this is the principle, foundational principle. At all stage, we assist the pure devotees, even on the true transcendental level, assisting them in their bringing pleasure to Krishna. It's seeing ourselves as the servant of the servant, assisting them. And there's so many things you could say, of course, within that realm, studying the scriptures, performing practical service, and unlimited other factors which will naturally take place on our path of devotional service, becoming freed from the false ego and gradually seeing things with Krishna in the center and realizing our real constitutional position is to bring pleasure to Krishna, whatever form it may take. But, we see even Lord Chaitanya Sankirtan, even the chanting of Hare Krishna, not everyone develops an attraction toward Radha Krishna worship. Some are in Sakira, some may be attracted even to other rasas, even worship of Lord Sita Ram, or even the Shingadev. Different forms of the Lord are there. And we've seen even in Lord Chaitanya's personal association, some devotees were attracted in different ways. But by following the Guru, Lord Nityananda is the Adi Guru, he is the original Guru. By his grace, everything becomes revealed in course of time. We have to live with times of thee, and progress thee shall call. The same principle now we try to work to please our Parampara, to please Srila Prabhupada. He's given us the means, he's given us so many things to help us to understand how we can please Krishna through the pleasing of his devotees who appear in this world in their personal form, in their instructions, in their writings, and so on and so forth. How we can please them? By trying to mold our lives on their example and on their guidelines. Everything will be revealed. Everything will come in time. Okay, it's getting very late. We have to go. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.